2026 ends the 3-year current CEU cycle for the NSCA. Do not wait until December 31st, 2026 to get your CEUs submitted to the NSCA. Get it taken care of now with an annual membership to Strength Coach Network, where you will get access to Performance Coaching 101, 102, 103, with each course giving you access to 2.0 NSCA CEUs. If you also need CSCCa CEUs, those same courses come with 10 CEUs to the CSCCa. If you need CEUs to the NSCA, CSCCa, you need help getting reinstated by going through all the process for the CSCCa from last year, or you want to just make sure you knock out everything for the NSCA with this year, 2026, being a reporting period, please reach out to us at service@strengthcoachnetwork.com. We will get you taken care of. We'll help you get everything lined up so you can keep your certification and you don't have to worry about anything other than coaching your athletes. Again, you can click the link down below for more information or email us at service@strengthcoachnetwork.com. TeamBuildr is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for online software for strength coaches. It does not matter what sector of strength and conditioning you work in, you want to get TeamBuildr because you will be able to program for your athletes, simply distribute the training to them, and make changes, modifications, whatever you need. I've been utilizing them since 2019 when I was back at Towson. I still use it in person at Goldfinch with all my remote clients throughout the country, and in person at the high school, Centennial High, right down the road when I was volunteering for them. You got to check out TeamBuildr in the link down below. The people that work for them are former strength and conditioning coaches, so they get it. They are able to help you with all of your needs. Again, reach out to your TeamBuildr rep and learn more about them in the link down below. For trading one, you're not
only bits and pieces.
I'm about to say you're not a day-to-day strength coach. So if you're actually following along with what we're doing,
I see
on Super Training,
your stuff on social more right now.
Well, yeah, and so anyways, we're going through Super Training in a year.
Yeah.
And he started off the episode talking about how Mel had essentially kept $1 million from Yuri by not telling him that the book was selling. And that's how the episode started.
Geez.
Yeah, Mel was essentially like, "Oh, the book's not selling. It's doing okay." And then Yosef's like, "Wait a minute, this isn't making sense." And so he started talking to some people who was like, "How's the book doing?" She's like, "Oh, it's okay. It cooled down a little bit, but it was flying off the shelves for a while." So, welcome to the show, everybody. Jacob, introduce yourself. You and I we've exchanged texts, emails, we've talked on the phone. So introduce yourself, and then we'll dive into this.
Yeah. So my name is Jacob Ricketts. I'm currently in Dubuque, Iowa, originally from
Dubuque
Rochelle,
is gorgeous, by the way. Shout out, anybody that all y'all that be throwing shade at the Midwest and Iowa, you don't get, especially Dubuque, home of, golly, Josie Jewell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, everybody says they come up here. Wow, I didn't know that Iowa had hills like this. And believe me,
and it's gorgeous. You see the properties that Josie and his wife put together, with the log cabin stuff. You want to talk about gorgeous, just flat out gorgeous.
It is. Yeah. So currently in Dubuque, Iowa, former collegiate strength and conditioning coach, kind of lived all over the country, and we'll certainly dive into some of those details.
Let's start with the college strength and conditioning to corporate wellness. I have talked with coaches on this show. We had Will on the show. We had Ian on the show talking about corporate wellness. We've had other athletic trainers in that world. I just talked with Costa about that as well. You spent a lot of time in college before moving into corporate wellness. What made you consider the transition?
Yeah. Ultimately, I was on 2 staffs 2 years in a row that got let go. And so it was a pivot point for me and my family, trying to decide hey, continue to chase the dream, continue to be in college football, but knowing the instability that comes at that. And we had at the time, a 3-year-old and knew we had another one on the way. And so, all right, continue to chase the dream, move across the country for an opportunity that was coming about, and recognizing that we still might not be there very long, or is it time to settle down and maybe have some more traditional roots, et cetera, recognizing that probably takes me out of college athletics. So that's what made me consider it. And then ultimately, my wife and I always said, as you just kind of alluded to, Dubuque's a great spot. And,
it is.
Yeah, that's where we met. I went to college here at the University of Dubuque. And so we always said if I got out of college football, there'd be a place we'd move back to. And then it all just kind of fell into place and came together.
What was harder than you expected about leaving college then? Because I went through it. I'm going to be vulnerable, and I don't know if anybody else, I'm sure you will be, but when it was a little bit of an identity crisis because I didn't do a good job of establishing who I was outside of strength and conditioning. So it
Yeah.
was definitely harder for me. What was harder than you thought?
No, I can relate to that. The identity crisis concept, and at that point, the only thing I'd known was being a coach, and frankly, the only thing I had known is being involved in football. Right? I left. I was 29 or 30, I guess, when I got out, and I started playing football in fourth grade, and there was no gaps between that. But don't get me wrong. When you work for a private company, everybody's in the pursuit of the common goal. That common goal, though, is more so profit driven, right? Whereas in the in the football world or collegiate athletics world, right? Like everybody in that locker room is pursuing the common goal of winning a championship, attempting to be the best athlete they could be, et cetera. So it was kind of that change in dynamics of everybody being a teammate and working towards that common goal was certainly something that I missed. I still talk about that with people. When people ask me if I miss being in college athletics, I say I miss the locker room concept and like just the banter and everything that comes with that.
So here's something that I miss and that I said to my wife, and I'm getting the goosebumps right now. But when they showed at the national championship when both teams like walked out, like I was like Megan, and Kier has gone on record saying this, like if you could bottle that moment of when you're right, like for you wherever all of your stops, like when you're walking out of that tunnel and it's just you and the boys and you're going out there and you're going to go compete, like that pregame just adrenaline dump is like words don't do it justice.
You're right. No matter when you get out, you'll always miss Saturdays, right? Like everything you just described. There's never a point in your life that you don't miss that. I don't think. Like you said, it's indescribable.
Yeah, and just like again, like when I was watching the national championship, it was like Megan right there. Like this moment right here is what so many people will, like you just said, they'll chase that. They won't be like you. They'll be like, this third staff, we won't get let go, and I'm going to get back in the game.
Yeah, I hear that.
Being then in the corporate wellness world, what part of the S&C background, because I've had this conversation with Missy Mitchell Macbeth, where it's easier in our opinions, both of us, and I think other coaches would believe it, is to go from college S&C into corporate wellness or into the private sector space versus being in the private setting and trying to go into college. That did not work out well for somebody that we hired at the University of Iowa. They worked at a very well-known, well-respected coach's gym, and that individual could not apply and work in the team sports setting. I think it's easier to go from college to corporate and to college to private. For you, what part of that background made it immediately transferable?
Yeah. First of all, I would agree. I think you're right that the transition is much easier going from college to private. I think that one thing that helped is the sense of urgency that you have in college athletics. And sometimes that's a bad thing, right? In college athletics, everything has to happen now, right? And if you're not doing it now, your opponent is, and they're going to end up beating you on Saturday. There's just such a sense of urgency. And so when I first moved to the private world, I was still kind of operating on that. Like, I'd get a task or an ask from a colleague or my manager, and in my head, like, all right, it's got to be done today. And so then I return, with this item done, and it's, I didn't expect that till next week. Or people are asking me for plans. Do I have time to sit down and chat about their lifestyle, et cetera? And so similarly, I approached it with, they want to talk right now. Like, I'll clear my calendar. I'll make, whatever changes they need to have. And that quickly,
if you're asking for it, you needed it yesterday. Let me help.
Yeah. Right. Like that's what I'm accustomed to. And but it did earn some trust and like some serious relationship capital. People are like, this guy's interested. He cares. Like, hey, yeah, I appreciate you taking time for me. And so I think that urgency helped. Now, full transparency, I've since learned and better match my urgency, right, with whatever else is
the heck out.
yeah. But I do think that helped in my transition at first with building a lot of relationship capital.
I mean, I'm the exact same way where it's like, again, like if somebody was asking for something, I was almost like falling on the sword, like, oh my gosh, how come I should have known what you were thinking and I should have had it ready for you beforehand. So you shouldn't have had to ask.
Yes, I follow it. Yes, very similar.
What recommendation would you then say to any coaches that are on it, or like we have listeners out there that have been leaving college because they're like, you know what, I am sick of it. What would you recommend to them for this path that is just as important, and who wouldn't be a good fit? So it's like, hey, if you're wanting this is, why, but if it's not a good fit, then this would be why it's not a good fit for somebody.
Yeah. I think one thing I'd say is just like finding a new college strength and conditioning job, ensure that the company you're going to work for is going to provide you with the resources you need to be successful.
Hawkin Dynamics is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for force plates and for handheld dynamometers. Not only am I using it now in the private sector at Goldfinch, I was utilizing this software when I was back at Towson University. You're able to transport the plates because I've taken them from our private sector facility to our other locations, also been able to take it from our private in-person location to the high school down the road to do some testing with athletes right then and there. You're able to pair your true strength with the striking difference machine. The people at Hawkin are fantastic. The technology is second to none. You have to learn more about Hawkin Dynamic in the link down below.
I've been lucky at Bar Materials, who I currently work for. The resources are there, and they are very open to investing into their people and the health and well-being of their people. So that's not an obstacle. Some folks you talk to, maybe they were sold a dream of how their company is going to invest into this concept. And then when push came to shove, they didn't want to spend the money on certain tools, gym memberships, blood draws, et cetera. And then in terms of like maybe a skill or something that somebody needs before they jump in is meeting people where they're at. And again, that relates to college athletics, right? Meeting a freshman where they're at, meeting a fifth year senior where they're at.
Yeah, but sometimes we would try to rush it.
Absolutely. And so the company, Bar Materials, we're a ready-mix concrete company. A majority of our employees are frontline employees. And so for me, I can't meet a guy that's driving a ready-mix concrete truck thinking that he's going to go, let's go to the exchange, join the CrossFit gym, go on a carnivore diet, and sleep 9 hours a day. Like, that's just not realistic, right? But hey, if he wants to find a way to add some more fruits and vegetables into his lunchbox, like, all right, let's do that, right? If he wants to find a way to get some more steps in and maybe consider weight training, rucking, et cetera, like, all right, how can I support him in that? But then realizing there are some guys that are in the extremes. Hey, man, I've been going to CrossFit for a year. What can I do to supplement that training? Great, we can have that conversation. But it's certainly, you can't be fitting a round peg in a square hole or whatever that saying is, right? Like, you got to meet people where they're at.
But that, to the good strength coaches that are already doing that and that are having their levels of development. And for me, I take it for granted. And I had a conversation with a member that was asking me questions about how I program on Team Builder. And I was like, hey, my foundation was this, and foundation plus, refined plus, and then my superior card. And then I'd start here, I'd make, the 1 week, I'd copy it down to all of the weeks. And then I'd copy it from refined up to refined plus down to foundation. And I'd make my, my progressions and regressions. And they're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And so if you're already doing that, you're now just doing it on maybe depends on the number of teams you're used to working with. At Towson, they've got a really nice setup now where some coaches are only working with 60 athletes. So like, you can really get specific and you could then be able to, dial it up for that guy who's all about it. And that's your very select few, even your most superior athletes in college. I only had 5 athletes on that lift card. So you're only going to have about 5, in your, wherever you're working corporate wellness that are that dialed in. And then maybe you're going to have 5 of them where it's like, hey, you're doing nothing. Let's get you actually gone any piece of cardio. And it could be 3 of them for you to total 20 minutes 3 times a week. Like, let's literally just start there.
Yes.
And coaches have to be okay with that's where you're going to meet them. And it's not a reflection that you're a bad strength coach. Because I think that's something also that we, as a duality of having to handle, like, hey, when that kid has bad technique, it's on you. Yes. Also 100% yes. But are you then giving that, like, if they're not ready for more advanced and you're just giving them vanilla training, it doesn't mean you're a bad strength coach.
No, right.
We talked about those 2 things. Okay. Now this is another huge part that I think coaches can learn a ton from you. Your career climbing at Northern Illinois. And so anybody that is not familiar with it, when I was doing my research on him, he went from intern to GA to assistant director. And that doesn't happen by accident. At Iowa, we would say things don't happen by accident. They happen by action. Kind of corny, but replacing the A with action. What do you think separated you during that climb? And how can you then give some advice to our listeners that are in a similar role? We have a lot of aspiring strength coaches that are in that intern, GA, or restricted earning first position.
Sure. I think one thing that helped separate me a little bit was my personal investment in my education at that point. So I went to the University of Dubuque, small private school here. And so I was able to be flexible with my education after I got through like gen eds. And so I was able to go to like the NSCA conferences and gain credits for it. I took like Ron McKeefrey's, he had like an online internship course. So I was able to take that. And so I had some items like that were listed on my resume that showed like an investment in education on top of the internships that I had done, Montana State, Stanford. And so that was like the first thing that kind of got me in the door, right? Is that like intern GA that I had more educational experience and maybe more in the college realm rather than just classes at school. But then the next thing that kind of goes with that education is I'd like to think I was always itching to get to coach. It didn't matter if it was tennis, golf, helping with women's basketball, and even if it was just setting up and then witnessing and watching the other coaches coach those teams. I wasn't just, as much as I wanted to, coach football, right? Like that's my love and my primary sport. At that point in time, I had learned from coaches that were already there, like, hey, you got to spend time with these other teams and take advantage of any opportunity you get to coach. And so I did that. And those opportunities just continued to lead to more opportunities to coach. If people were gone over winter break, gone over spring break, and the basketball teams needed to train or the baseball team needed to train, at that point, I earn the trust of the full-time guys to be able to run their teams during those breaks, right? And then all of a sudden the sport coach sees like, hey, that Ricketts, he's capable of running our group. And it just was kind of snowballing in a favorable way for me.
Two things. First of all, shout out to Montana State for winning the Natty. That was a fantastic game. Probably a lot harder for you to watch than me.
Yeah, go Cats.
But then second of all, hearing you talk, like the thing that I wrote down right there was you're itching to coach and it didn't matter who. I had that when I was at Harvard, right? We had 42 different teams on there, and I'm working with fencing and rowing and sailing and the crew, heavyweight and lightweight, and it's been amazing for me. But the thing that I would say is probably part of the reason why you've been successful is you weren't like, oh, well, I'm only successful because I work with, P4 football players, right? Like you just wanted to coach individuals. And so I'm saying all of this, like, yes, corporate wellness is for anybody. You can come in and you can work in it if you want, but it's also not for everybody, because if you find your identity in the fact that you work with P4 football players or P4 basketball players, replace whatever it is, then no, it's not for you, because you're not going to find life. You're going to do a really bad job. You're going to give a bad taste in those people's mouth, and then they're not going to trust the next strength coach that comes in because you mailed it in and you didn't go over there for the right reason.
Yeah, I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head. Everything you just said makes me think about like check your ego, right? And again, football is my love and still is my love, and that was my ultimate goal. But I also knew that I had to get reps, and I enjoyed getting those reps. I was lucky during college. I helped at a private facility here in town, and I was training. There's actually a kid that is in the minor leagues right now. And at that point in time, he was in like third grade, right?
Powerlift is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for exercise equipment. Made here in the USA, right down the road in the state of Iowa, Powerlift has the ability to customize whatever you need in your room, regardless of the sector of strength conditioning. If you need a massive, big room, they have the ability to help you with that. If you're confined with space and you need to get creative, their reps are able to help you get what you need done and being able to get any customizations that you or your organization want with your logo on the equipment. Click the link down below to learn more about Powerlift, and if you have any questions about them, please feel free to reach out to us.
And he's just doing some very developmental concepts, not like truly lifting weights, right? But like just movement stuff. But like that was my opportunity to teach this kid how to go through a warm up, right? Like teaching a third or fourth grader how to go through a warm up. But then there were some high school kids at that time that maybe I'd get to help take them through more of their lift and their training. And so that was good reps for me. And so getting those live reps on people that, again, they weren't the pinnacle of what I wanted my career to be. But there was great opportunity to learn and get live reps. And so then when those bigger opportunities came, I was more prepared to take advantage.
And it is just so much fun. Even yes, you're not going to see the exact same, the success for the people changes, because I even have a blast working with our middle school kids up the road at Goldfinch. I'm wearing my shirt because I was there earlier today, a high school athlete that I was working with, even just getting him when he was going his hand supported back squat for 2 reps, his VBT was over 1.0 on the peak velo every single time on his Vitruve unit. At 265 for a double. But this is a kid that weighed 135 when we started 15 months ago, and now he weighs 167. Seeing that success, or even when you're working with our middle school kids, and it's like, hey, you're doing your single leg wall sit better now. Hey, you can do a couple reps on the chin up instead of one. and just truly seeing that success. Or I work with a 70-year-old woman who's getting ready to go to Sydney, Australia, and she's going to climb the Sydney Harbor Bridge. So we've
Dang.
been doing like some different variations of step ups. We've been going and doing assisted pull ups just to get her used to being in a contraption in a machine. Like, so if you can't find success in those other places that you're doing it, then I don't think you're going to really truly find happiness being in that corporate wellness world. But you could do some amazing things that do have some amazing payoff for everybody. I'll link Ian's episode down below. But if you think about how you can help other people, like you said, the concrete, like this goes back to the concept of you're building your own house. I want to say it's from Break the Rock, or it's from Chop Wood, Carry Water, where, you know,
Okay.
the guy was building his own house, but he didn't realize it because he wanted to retire. They asked him to do one more job. He kind of mailed it in. But if you realize, like, hey, I'm always building my house, whatever you're doing, you are helping other people do what they want to do. And it's more than just like, oh, you know, I'm building a wall versus someone's like, oh, I'm building, I'm building this thing, or like, hey, I'm sculpting this. And it's like, yeah, you over at the concrete people, they're pouring concrete in, but what are they also doing? They're building maybe a patio for somebody, and that patio might have been affordable because somebody's grandparents passed away, and they're using that money there, and now they're able to entertain their family, and they're continuing to live on the legacy of that parent. And I know that might be a grandiose fairy tale, but that's how I actually think about things. So like when you can get into that corporate wellness world, and you can then make that concrete person carry the things better, so they're not as physically tired, they can do their job better, the customer is happier, now your organization does better. It's win 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 win. And it's something that me personally I've had to relearn, because I think we all get taught that it's a zero-sum game. If I win, then you, Jacob, lose, and that's not the reality.
No, you're right. I mean, I got a couple of thoughts there, but like one that comes to mind that definitely relates to this is Bart Materials' core purpose is to build better, well, to transform materials responsibly to build better lives, community, and country. And so the role of health and wellness manager and helping our people, like you said, be healthier and whatever that means to them, right? Being able to lift their chutes and put them on the truck safer, being able to climb in and out of the truck safer, or maybe more extreme, they're training regularly, etc. That helps them live a better life, which then helps their community and the people that are involved in their community, which then ultimately should create a better country, right? And so, like you said, if you're not thinking that way and how that impacts that big picture, you're certainly going to miss out.
Back to your time at Northern Illinois, what do you think as an intern or GA that young coaches often overlook but matters a lot to decision makers? So like, what did you do as that intern GA, and you think that some of these kids are not doing, and then what would you tell them now to make sure that they do it so it doesn't get overlooked?
I mean, I'm kind of being a dead horse, I guess, but like, again, the exposure to all the teams certainly benefited me in my career. And I feel strongly that, again, taking those opportunities to coach, no matter what sport it is, goes a long way. And I think kind of, similar to the discussion we just had, certain sports get a bad rep, right? Of like, well, they're a golfer, they don't train hard, or they train so much different that it's not much fun training them. And that's not true. Like, what's fun is people that want to get better, right? And people that want to train, and you coach them, teach them, correct them, and ultimately see their progress. Like, that's fun. It gives you live reps. It benefits the student athlete or the athlete, the person in a professional career, whatever your setting is. And so just being willing to jump in on those opportunities, not sticking your nose up because it's not the big time, right? One of the best, I still use this reference quite a bit, but there was a female tennis player at NIU, and tennis was one of my teams, and I was a GA. And she trained hard. She was really strong. She was always willing to push the limits of what her physical capacity was. And I learned a lot about like programming and training people because of her willingness to train hard. And so that goes a long way. And then, there's a balance between like living at the facility, like, and especially as you get a little older, you used to have a wife, family, et cetera. Like, you need to have a balance between spending time at the facility and spending time with the family, being a human, right? Good father, good husband. But like when I first started, my wife worked we were dating at the time, but she worked full-time job. I was working at school. If we didn't have anything to do, I was gonna hang out, right? Like if basketball was practicing, I was hanging out around that. If football was practicing, baseball, whatever, like I was just around. And so it just gave me more time to build a relationship with coaches, build relationships with student athletes, and that trust and that relationship certainly helps as you try and lead them, coach them, convince them to do things that are going to better their performance.
I wrote right there, love is love is spelled time, Time. Like you have to spend time with them.
Absolutely.
Like, because if you're not, then they just don't know that you don't care.
Yeah. Like I said, there's got to be a balance at a certain point in your life, but I think young people, like if you don't have anything better to do, there's nothing wrong with hanging out at the facility. I mean, I'd show up, get a lift, hang out with whoever was around. Maybe I'd go in the office, work on a program, start reading, whatever. But if I'm reading a book, I can read in my office or in like the players lounge area, or I can go home and sit on the couch. But if I'm at the office or in the players lounge, I'm likely to run into some more people, have some more conversations, hang out and be around people versus sitting on my own couch by myself reading a book.
Yeah, and go and do it early, like you said, when you're single and there's nothing like versus okay, you've got some seasoning. People know that you've done your job, you've built up that leadership equity, and then in years 4, 5, 6, okay, hey, I read it here yesterday. I'm going to read at home today because wife and kids, whatever. Like I'm going to feed them a bottle and read while I do this.
Yes, couldn't agree more.
Then that actually kind of leads very well into the misconception young coaches have about earning promotions in college S&C. Like what does that mean when you hear like, hey, you got to go earn that promotion? What does that look like or mean to you?
Yeah. I think what maybe a misconception is people think that like earning is like knowing so many people and like chopping it up at the CSCCa or at these conferences or pregame, et cetera. And now that I know them, I've had a conversation that's going to help earn me a position, right?
Vitruve is the trusted VBT source for Strength Coach Network, and I have been utilizing this for years at Goldfinch, and I'm going to continue to utilize it because the great price for the encoder, as well as the accuracy with the data. Whether I'm measuring average, peak, or any other metric, if I want to include range of motion, fatigue loss during the set, intra-set, whatever it is, I can trust Vitruve. And they are continuing to push the needle and continuing to educate coaches on best practices within the VBT world. Not only do they live in that VBT world, but now they've come out with their new hub. And if you want to learn more about the hub and how it can help you with all of your athletes that you are working with, as we are starting to do this at Goldfinch for our middle school all the way up to college athletes, check them out in the link down below.
That guy. Oh, I know that guy. But I think that like truly earning is being where your feet are and doing the absolute best job that you can for the person that you're currently working with and working for. And then the opportunities will come, whether it's, your boss, your direct boss getting a new job and bringing you along with, him or her getting calls, for, hey, I've got this position open. You have somebody in mind. But if you're not doing the job that you're currently in to the best of your abilities, then you're not going to get that opportunity anyway. So be where your feet are, do the best that you can. And I look back on like, there were certainly times where I was itching like, man, I really hope I get that call. I really hope I can jump on with this guy, et cetera. But like I should have been even more invested in my current opportunity than I already was. Cause I mean, those opportunities come and go quick, right? Like you got to take advantage of what you have.
I agree. And now, okay, this again leads into it perfectly because once you do a good job and you do like, now there has to be the willingness to move, which you were and I was and other successful coaches were. You were willing to move, which is a reality that many young coaches resist. Why do you think geographic flexibility is a big deal in this field? I mean, shoot, the answer is because there's limited number of jobs, it's supply and demand. Yeah. But why are so people that are like not willing to relocate?
Yeah. My boss, one of my former bosses used to say like, your next raise is your next job. There's the reality at the mid majors is that you don't typically get annual increase. You don't get hey, you guys did a really good job this year. Here's $10,000. Like,
oh, okay. First of all, I'm so glad you just said that because when I finished my book for the publisher Cognella, and in the pay section where I was talking about like, hey, let's talk about finances. They're like, well, you should talk about how to negotiate for like, you didn't really talk about negotiating for a raise. I was like, yeah, I did. I said it happens when you get hired or when you're willing to leave or you have another job. Because there's none of this like you negotiate for a better salary unless it's under those three conditions. It doesn't happen.
Right. I can think of multiple friends in the profession that, hey, I got offered this job, but I'd really like to stay here. You guys, can you give me another $5,000-10,000? And no, but you let me know what your decision is. Like, okay, then I guess I'm gonna have to go. Right. Like, yeah. And I enjoyed, moving that first summer that I went to Montana. I was living with a family friend who worked at the university, and that was a positive experience for me. And living in a different different community and culture in Montana. Similarly, when I went to Stanford and was exposed to the Bay, that was the biggest city I'd ever lived in, and was wild. And so I just really thoroughly enjoyed that. And I think it grows you in so many ways. And if you're really going to be resistant to moving, then I don't think that college athletics is for you. And if you really want to try and make it work, then a smaller job, like my strength coach at the University of Dubuque, he was there for like close to 15 years. Now he didn't make a lot of money, and like we just talked about, there wasn't annual raises, etc. But he had no interest in moving. He enjoyed training athletes. Then he started a bunch of side businesses and has since transitioned out of the business, right? But like the only way you're going to be in college athletics and not move, I think, in my opinion, is if you're at a very small school, and you're able to build relationships and rapport, and you're comfortable with, whatever your starting salary is, it's probably not going to change a whole lot.
And that's why we talk about the 4 Ps. It's like, hey, if you say your pay's not great, but your personal life's amazing, you have a great title, so your career progression's taken care of, and you have a sense of greater purpose, you don't need to leave to just get more money, because then you could lose out on the other 3. Your 3 of 4 is better than 1 of 4. And it's like, hey, now, like you said, go find ways to start a side business, learn how to be smart about your financial investments. And we're going to get to that later, but that is a really good point. And I think some strength coaches don't understand, like, sure, go make, Tennessee just hired Derek for $1.2 million, but it's like, okay, maybe how long is he there for? Okay, $3 million. That's an outlier. But what if that same strength coach was making $75,000 a year for 20 years? Like, now you can play it out, and your child, all right, went to the same school. They went to the same high school every single year. They graduated with their friends. What is that monetary value? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's a number that you can put on it, but I think it's worth more than $3 million that I knew that my child was raised in a certain home, in a certain school district, and they've been potted in good soil.
No doubt. I think for a long time, like before I had kids, I looked forward to the days of having kids and having them grow up in college athletics, grow up in college football. And my oldest son still remembers that. And to him and I, like, there's times where we miss that. But one of the hardest realities for me was the day we got let go from Temple. It was they didn't do it on a Sunday because they hadn't found the money yet. So they find the money Sunday night. Monday morning, the fire head coach, he comes downstairs, tells us, like, hey, I got let go. We get told there's going to be a meeting that afternoon. Great. We go in there, and they said, we're under contract. You'll have an opportunity to talk to the new head coach.
Dasher Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for timing gates for your athletes. Whether you're trying to run A-cells, curve, flies, change in direction with the Pro Agility, the 505, modified 505, whatever you want to do, get valid and reliable setup with your Dasher. I had the black, the blue, and now we have the silver at Goldfinch. We're completely moving over from the blues to just only having the silvers. I only test my athletes on the silvers because it has helped me save so much time, whether I'm going from Ankeny over to Nevada or Ankeny over to Huxley, whatever I got to do. I save so much time, and I want you to be able to save so much time with your setup, because we know that time is precious as strength coaches. Now, not only are you going to be able to save time, but you're going to be able to save money with this great product, and you have a valid and reliable product that has run through countless different articles, as you continue to see online being published with the accuracy of this information. So, if you want to learn more about Dasher, click the link down below to be able to go to their website and learn more about them.
We hire them. You're kind of in that holding pattern. And so guys started coming down to the weight room and just kind of BS. And they were all going to go pick up their kids from school because they needed to tell their kids that they got let go. They didn't want to hear it from other kids, from the news, et cetera. So they were going to leave after that conversation and go home, pick up their kids. And like 2 of them had daughters that were going to be seniors in high school that following fall, right? So now they're going to move again. They've gone to the same high school for 3 years, but hey, your senior year is going to be finished somewhere else. And the little humor in that is that my son at the time was 2. He's a big fan of the band. Temple had a great band. And he was always playing the fight song on the TV, right? So I come home that day after getting, essentially let go, not officially yet, but we know about the writing on the wall. And, some people are going home to crying kids, et cetera. And my 2-year-old's beating on a play drum with the Temple fight song in the background. So
learn a new fight song.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't want to hear it. How do you think then moving helped you professionally and personally? Because I know how it helped me and my wife and our marriage. Like it solidified us. We're not, we are not perfect. Actually, as I'm continuing to make disclaimers, let me make it real clear. I am not mad that Derek Owens just got paid to go be there. Yes. It raises everybody. Like, no.
Absolutely.
I am happy he did. Let's make that very clear. I'm just saying that if that lifestyle is not for you, I'm trying to help you change your mindset of like, oh, because I have a friend of mine that's making $65,000 a year. He's always comparing himself. I was like, dude, if you stay at that same university for a while, your kids are going to grow up in the area. You're near your family. Put a monetary value on that. And he's like, okay, that helps. So that is why I said it, not because I'm not throwing any shade at him and what he's doing. Sure. Back to what I was saying is, my wife and I, like, we don't have a perfect marriage. Nobody does. But I know that the two of us grew closer when it was just the two of us, and her family's not there, my family's not there, when we're living in Towson. So how did it help you professionally and personally, all the moving?
Yeah. Professionally, I mean, you can just talk about like cultural differences, right? Like in the Midwest to then going to North Philadelphia, and the cultural differences between people that grow up in those two demographic places, and how to relate, coach, earn trust, etc. And then from Temple to going to University of Colorado. And again, now I'm dealing with some more California kids, maybe some Texas, and certainly some Colorado, Wyoming kids sprinkled in there as well. But, East Coast and West Coast aren't the same, lifestyle, same upbringing, etc. So that learning that and how to relate to people, build trust was huge. And then, like you just said, my wife and I learned a lot together on those moves, and brought us closer together in a variety of ways and challenges that come with that. We had our first child when we got to Temple. And so, like you said, not only are we moving across the country, we're also going to have our first child. Neither of our families live there. The positive to that first move was that our whole staff went together from NIU to Temple. And so the wives had a close-knit group. All the coaches, we had a good relationship, et cetera. So that helped. And then the difference from Temple to Colorado is I was the only one that knew people. Like my wife didn't know anybody. And so that transition in terms of getting her involved with the wives there, and with our strength conditioning staff, when we got there, just a lot of positives of leaning on each other and being there for each other, certainly goes a long way.
You talked about your wife. This is, strength coaches. This is kind of a big part of why I wanted to have Jacob on, his background in strength conditioning, but also what his wife does. So working for a financial planning advising group, you've been exposed to the conversation of finances more than most strength coaches. Why do you think we as a whole are so uncomfortable talking about the topic of money?
Yeah. So a little background, my wife was able to stay home when we were at Temple University. We had our first child, and then COVID hit, everything else. I was in a position of making enough money that we were able to keep her at home with our oldest son. Great. Then when we go to Colorado, cost of living change.
Cool. Good. Does it change?
Yeah, right.
Change is a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise. And so she needed to we needed her to find work, right? Like that was how we were going to make the move happen. And so she was interviewing for this job, and she had like 3 interviews. And I told her, I was like, if they don't offer you the job on this one, like we need to find another job, because at the end of the day, you need to find a job, right? And she's like, I don't know, I just really like these people. Like I'd like to give them a little bit of time. And thankfully, we listened to her wisdom and not mine, because
you're used to that, like
yeah, like let's go. Like at the end of the day, we got to interview.
If I interviewed for the job on Monday and I didn't get offered by Tuesday, I suck.
Yeah, right. That's exactly where my mindset was, And so again, back to that urgency. So they ended up being with the Guardian Group in Lakewood, Colorado, and she started off as a receptionist. And long story short, it's been a massive blessing for our family, and it certainly has changed our lives for the better. They're a financial planning company. But to get back to your original question of why we don't like talking about it as in coaches, my initial thought is because we don't make a lot of money.
Let's say we don't have it.
Yeah, right. Like, so there's that embarrassment. Like, oh yeah, so my friends fresh out of college are working in the business world, and they're making 50 or 60, and I'm GAing for $1,000 a month and some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like, that's an uncomfortable conversation. And then as you go, like, yeah, you're continuing to level up, but you're also, I think, insecure about what people outside of the industry are doing. So yeah, I guess the insecurity and the fact that at the start you're not making a lot. There's the potential for those quick turnarounds and all of a sudden a massive influx of pay, right? But that doesn't always happen.
How about you? What did you get wrong early in your career about finances?
Yeah, I think what I got wrong was that I was extreme in terms of being like on a budget and frankly being tight, right? Like, can't buy an extra cup of coffee today. And while I still think you don't need to buy a cup of coffee every single day from Starbucks, right? Like, I don't support that decision, but like in my eyes, we could never splurge on anything because we didn't have the money, right? And so Yeah, I was strict as all get out, and my wife would tell you, like it mistakenly so. What do you? We can't buy that. We don't need that. Like, what's going on? Like, I had things budgeted, and everything was supposed to go to a certain place, and so there was no room for error in my eyes at that point. And so while I think it's important to have a budget and to have a plan, at the end of the day, you're not going to get rich by saving from that $4 cup of coffee or whatever your little treat is, right? Like at the end of the day, you need to find a way to maximize your income, and increasing and maximizing that income is what's going to make the biggest change, not cutting out those little minor expenses.
Would you say that cutting, like, okay, would it then be coaches are focusing on cutting the minor? They're not focusing on being able to grow their income. What would you say is the biggest blind spot financially for strength coaches then, based off of what you just said and now what you see?
Well, I think what you just said is we're focused on the minor and not like maximizing their income or finding the side hustle. And part of my thought process at the time, like, let's go back to like when I got the job at Temple. Like, I didn't think I had time for a side hustle, and I thought that it was a bad thing if I did put in time to anything other than Temple football, right? Yeah. So, like, oh, if I'm not focused on Temple football, then it's not going to do me any good. But if I would have used a bowl bonus and given it to a friend of mine who's a real estate investor, right, and he paid me 10% on that, that money would be doing me more good than just sitting in a savings account not earning anything. Or find other ways to use some of that money, or to use your time in the evenings. Early risers, right? Strength conditioning coaches are always up early. So, if you don't have spring break or winter break, et cetera, like what can you do in the early morning hours, or what type of business can you create that maybe your hours are early morning, late at night, and you're young, you got time, you got energy, and build some sort of extra additional income at that point in time.
Two things that I thought about right there was, one, I mean, any of the strength coaches that are like, oh, well, you know what, Jacob, you say that, but I actually don't have the time. It's like, here's the thing that I know that you all got time for is doom scrolling on social media, right? Like that is definitely a time drainer. And I know some strength coaches out there. Player Data is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for GPS technology, and it's simple. The price you cannot beat, and the validity and accuracy of their technology is second to none. The price is outstanding. Go ahead and reach out to them to learn more about the pricing specific to you and however many units you're going to get. And then the validity. Player Data has been tested and run through FIFA's validation process for FIFA to then be utilizing Player Data technology. FIFA, we all know that name. They would not be utilizing a product that cannot live up to the competition and cannot be able to provide real, live, and accurate data. Player Data is able to do this. Not only do they have great software and hardware, but I know that the customer service is fantastic because I have worked with these individuals before. Click the link down below to learn more about Player Data. Because I was that one, but that was because I worked for somebody that like used to make fun of people if they were writing or doing other things. And that's also wrong, because it's like, man, are we just trying to bring that person down so I can stay up, crab mentality type style? So first, I've changed that mindset where it's like, no, let's be proud of that person. But then just understanding like, hey, you have the ability with your own time to then go do the thing. So if that's your hobby, right? Like if I was going to read a book, a friend of mine that I was working with at Towson, Derek, he's like, hey, if I was going to go read a book, and, everybody was so proud of me at Towson that I was reading a book, but now all of a sudden they see that I'm helping advise the NBA on this thing. They're like, well, wait a minute, what are you doing? Or like, if you were going back to school to earn another degree, they'd love it. But if you were doing, like you just said, I could go and spend 10 to 15 hours a week in a classroom to earn another degree. But if I spent those same 10 hours a week doing extra work for, like you said, a side hustle, or if it's a remote strength conditioning thing, they're like, now they're questioning your loyalty versus it's like, wait a minute, I'm spending the same 10 hours and I'm learning about the industry that I work in. One of them, I'm paying somebody to go to school. Another one, I'm getting paid to learn. Why are you so mad about that?
Yeah, that's a good thought process. I think too of like the number of guys who do sell programs or do some side programming, and that's low hanging fruit. Like I wish I would have done more of that in my younger years when I instead I was focused on saving and cutting like some of those little costs versus if I just programmed for a few select people, a few high schoolers in my hometown, whatever the situation is, that's all of a sudden some fast cash. And I think one of the first times that like it hit me like, dang, I do have the time is the football strength coach at Villanova. Is it Mike Tucker?
Mike Tucker, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I believe he owns
he's all about real estate.
Yeah, and teach your own on the real estate. I now own some rental properties, so I'm more on that side of things. But like, I remember being at Temple and realizing, like, dang, that guy's a head football strength coach at Villanova, and he has time to have a rental property and like potentially expand to more of those. And that was like, what am I doing with my time? Like, come on, anybody can do it at that point, right? Like at the end of the day, somebody in your exact profession just proved if you put in the work and put in the time and are willing to learn, like you can do it. So could I if I had gone and put in the work and put in the time.
So that episode is at least 3 years old, because I was still at Towson when I filmed it with Mike. But anybody that has not been familiar with that, Mike had house hacked. And what if you're not familiar with that word, is Mike was able to buy a property and then rent the rooms out to other people in the area. And he was charging them less than it would cost for them to get an apartment, but they would have their own room. It'd be in a house. It was more of an intimate setting, so they had no problem paying it. If even it was less money, they would have less square footage, but because they were saving money, it was in a more homey vibe. They were paying it, and he did that with 3 of the rooms or 2 of the rooms, whatever. And when he was making his mortgage payment, it wasn't actually coming out of his account. He was getting money from his roommates to pay the mortgage, so he was living for free.
Yeah. I
Like
get so much credit to him. Like
Jordan
like
down at Elon was doing the same thing. Him and his wife. Like now, talk about gritty, because it's a married couple, but they did it with their basement, where some people lived down in the basement. Jordan, forgive me if I'm butchering the story, but that's how they were able to get all their student debt paid off, because they were house hacking and they were able to, live with other people, and that's how they were able to get it done.
Yeah. No, it like I said, kudos to those guys.
I think the conversation is starting to change, though, when people like you, myself, now Mike Tucker, Costa De La Gatas, Kier obviously talking about it, Brett Bartholomew, Jay DeMayo talking about it, DeMarco talking about it. The more that Amit Vora coming on the show, Kate Wright, if we talk about it in Jess Burke, then it becomes less taboo. And it's like anything else. When you're starting a new movement, we have to just be willing to talk about it. And I think that's why the narrative is starting to change, where people are more willing to understand, hey, let's invest in it. This isn't a bad thing. Because I think we had been sold that money is the root of all evil. And it's like, no, it's not. It's like anything else. It's a tool. It's just like artificial intelligence. It's like your cell phone. It is a tool. It is a thing. That's all that it is.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about we need a certain amount to live, right? But there's all these studies of at a certain point, more money doesn't make you happier, right?
No.
Like that initial raise, sure, you feel good for 24 hours after that initial raise, but like after that, you're back to being whatever you were before. If you're fulfilled,
and after that, you're probably just wanting more. Oh, give me more. Give me more. Yes. You're always going to want that 15% more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Costa was the guest that I had on the show earlier today. And one of the last areas we talked about was something that I had spoken with you, is once coaches understand that with their finances and being able to take care of their families, themselves, it feels amazing to be able to donate your own finances or your time, because you don't have to trade your time for your job, and you have more time to go donate and to build the Habitat for Humanity panel build on a whatever day, or you can stop work for your lunch break and you can go do a mentoring appointment with the local elementary school that needs help with certain kids. Like, you have that ability once you've been able to financially take care of yourself. Speak to that based off of what you've seen or in your own life.
Yeah, you mentioned that one of the last times we talked, and I've been thinking about that a lot. And for me, I'm still a very systemized, planned person, especially when it comes to my finances.
So is everybody listening. Sorry.
And so, no, I love it. And so, like, it does. You eliminate a sense of guilt when you know that, like, hey, I am giving, and I'm giving to these predetermined sources. And then, all right, every once in a while, there's a one-off and somebody that you feel strongly about. Then again, additionally give to that. But it's just it feels. I mean, it feels great knowing that you've got a plan to donate and gift, whether that's time or money. But then one thing that McKinsey's company, the Guardian Group, talks about is legacy planning. And that doesn't just mean financial. It's literally what you just said. Are you going to read to the first grade class every Tuesday? Are you giving more money to your church or to a local thing, et cetera? And what is your legacy? I think a lot about my dad. He coached our youth sports growing up, me and my 2 brothers, and people regularly like talk about like my dad being their coach, right? Like that's part of his legacy is his time spent helping develop and mold young people through sports. And so, yeah, when you aren't trading your time for money, when you've found a way to become maybe a little more financially established, you can choose to give money or you can choose to give time. Either way, both lead to a legacy of you and your name and your family.
Do you think it can help coaches show up better for their athletes and sport coaches that they work with?
Yeah, I think yeah, especially both absolutely can, but especially time. I think of I was in the Big Brother Big Sister program at Dubuque when I was in college, and that was one of my first. I mean, let's just say college in general, right? Like some of my teammates and the backgrounds that they came from. And then similarly in this Big Brother, Big Sister program, just opened my eyes to the different backgrounds that people can come from. And the time that I spent, Colin was the young kid's name, the time that I spent with him from the time that he was in first grade to third grade was only an hour. I don't even know. It was probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half once a week. But like that was impactful for Colin. Colin didn't miss schools on Tuesdays or whatever day it was that I came. You knew he was going to be there because you knew he was going to be able to spend some time with me. And that's not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying that he needed a male influence, right? Yep. And other days when he knew that wasn't going to be there as consistently, those were the days he was more likely to miss school. And so, yeah, it taught me about different upbringings and the ability to build a relationship with somebody and earn their trust and how long that goes. And I think about some college athletes that come from different backgrounds and learning more about what they came from, some of the hardships that they had, and being able to spend some time with them. And just like I said, how that helps develop relationships.
I mean, that's me with my mentee. So it's through Kids Hope USA, which is a nationwide, very similar than Big Brother Big Sister, but it's one mentee, one mentor, 1 hour, right? And it's like once a week, just showing up for that person and him knowing that I show, like, I don't go to your I'm not at the elementary school and I meet with this kid and this. No, I literally go to only hang out with you. And that power of being able to do that and know that you're showing up for somebody. First of all, when you have to budget and systematize, hey, I'm giving financially to this here, it now limits your ability to spend money wastefully on other things. Like you can't, hey, if you're like, oh, money's tight, I'm giving this here. Well, now you can't go spend it on eating out, things, extra clothes, things that you don't actually need outside of the necessities. Second of all, spending time when you're having to budget and be like, okay, it's an hour with him, it's 15 minutes to drive there, 15 minutes back, that's an hour and a half of work I have to cut out. Now it's going to also force you to be very good with your time. You're not going to scroll on your phone. You're not going to lag at work because you have that expense of time leaving later, so you have to be dialed in. So that's why Jacob and I are talking about it right now, everybody that's listening in on this.
Yeah, no, that's good. What you just said makes me think about like student athletes and grades. And it's amazing how, myself included, when I was a student athlete, I performed better in the fall when my schedule was strictly way more strict. Right. And so, like you said, when you have things set, whether it's time or money to a particular place, you're so much less wasteful.
I actually said that to people when they'd be like, oh, it must have been so much harder being a student athlete. I was like, no, because it forced me to be like, hey, I mean, Jocko talks about it all the time. Like, you're not going to negotiate with everybody else, not yourself. Like, there's no negotiate. It's like, no, I just go to class. Like, there's nothing to talk about. Like, no, I go to practice. Like, there's no like, oh, I don't feel like it. It's like, my emotions and my feeling have nothing to do with it. This is just what I do.
Right. Absolutely.
If you could go talk to yourself as a young intern, what would you tell that coach to stop worrying about? Finances, strength and conditioning, whatever. What comes to your mind when you think, hey, young me or young strength coach right now in 2026, what should they stop worrying about?
Yeah, I think like my ultimate goal when I got into strength and conditioning was at that point in time was Power 5, now Power 4, right? But like the pinnacle of my career was to be a head football strength coach at the Power 4 level, right? That's what 19-year-old me thought I wanted to do. And
for me, it was the Dallas Cowboys, and if I didn't work for them, I was a loser.
See, so we've all got our heights. And so just to not be so concerned about that, because for a little bit, like even my first internship, I thought that my first internship had to be with, Alabama football, major programs. Yeah. In reality, I likely wouldn't have had the career. I mean, I definitely wouldn't have had the career that I had if I hadn't gone to Montana State and learned from Alex Wilcox, Ricky Ramirez, and the rest of the staff.
Alex.
I need like
Hey.
that. And
His nick,
and
did he have the nickname Tack? Oh my gosh.
no, I didn't call him that at that point in time. That might have been a secret past the interns. But yeah, went there and was able to get hands-on experience in my first internship. Right, like at the end of the day, I helped him run some warm-ups, helped train men's basketball in a variety of ways. In my very first internship, that I never would have gotten the experience at a bigger program. And so, yeah, just not worrying about the school that I was at, and being more focused on where I was at right then, and the opportunities that gave me the opportunity to coach, would certainly be what I tell myself, because ultimately that helped me become a better coach and then get to where I was able to go.
I'll echo that because I wanted to go to Boston College. Being a Massachusetts guy, Boston College was bigger football than anybody. I mean, college football is not very big in Massachusetts, at least when I was in high school and college. And so I was like, I'm going to go to BC. And my program advisor was like, go to Harvard. James Frazier, another former Iowa guy, she's like, you are going to get a better experience. You're going to get to coach more. James is fantastic. Go there. And so I was just like, all right, well, you're in charge. So sure, I'll do that. So yeah, I'm going to double down on what you just said right there. Jacob is right. Don't be thinking about the logo. What's the experience and the ability for you to go and coach? If you're in the Villanova, Philly area, go in and learn from a guy like Mike Tucker down in North Carolina, go in and work with Nick DeMarco. Like, around here, us at Goldfinch, like, it's not always going to be the prettiest logo, but you can actually, like you said, go get your hand dirty, cut your teeth, and find out what kind of a coach you are and if this is what you actually want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then when the right opportunity comes, right, you're so much more prepared, and then you do catch the attention of everybody else, with your abilities and your knowledge. I just think that goes a long way.
What if somebody's listening to this right now and they feel stuck or they feel burnt out or whatever? What would be your piece of advice to them, career, personal, financial, that you would recommend?
I guess, like, my first thought is, like, what was the goal that you were looking to achieve, and what path are you currently on? Because, like, if you're on year 7 at a particular location, right, and like my situation, you want to be a power forward head strength coach, but you're still at the same school working with, a variety of different teams. And so maybe your goal needs to change, and find something that gives you more time back. Like, what was your ultimate goal, and why? What is it that's leading to this dissatisfaction? Because maybe that end goal just isn't what it should be. Like, you need to reevaluate and pivot, and that first pivot might not be it, right? But being willing to recognize, like, hey, while I thought that was it at a previous point in time, that is no longer it. And so what is that new goal, that's going to help fulfill me, and then chase that. Like, it's okay to pivot.
You pivoted, you feel fulfilled. What most excites you about where you're at now compared to college S&C days?
What most excites me, I'll go 2 different ways with that. One, the tools, that continue to become more and more available. I just took a group of people through the Vitality Blueprint blood draw. We're starting to get those results in, and to think that you can get such a full panel of, all your biomarkers for $300 to $400, right, is insane. Considering that with insurance, it literally might be $2,000 to get all those same tests run. And so there's just so many tools with AI and things like that you can use to improve your health. But then secondly, I'm still coaching, but in a very different capacity, right? And the conversations that I'm having are, they used to be with 18 to 23-year-olds and helping to develop them into adults, into better athletes, certainly, but then into adults and good people, right? And now I'm dealing with grown adults, and helping them, guide them, because in my role, I'm also in charge of our benefits, right? And so I'm trying to help guide them on what they're doing for a health insurance perspective that's going to lead to better health and put more money in their pocket. Similarly with, like, life insurance, 401k, et cetera, having those conversations with people that still have a major effect on them and their life and their family. And so that's certainly something that I've enjoyed that I didn't previously realize I would enjoy.
Is there anybody at this point, they're like, all right, hey, I want to learn more about any corporate wellness things. Where would you then direct somebody?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if I have a great answer on that one, Coach.
You know, because
I
it's like,
think
hey, could they? Is it beneficial to try to cold email people, or is it like, you know, the
no.
Exoses and their corporate wellness structure with, like I said, Will and what he's doing, or Ian.
Like if you're looking for jobs, there's the National Alliance of Wellness, or it used to be called WELCOA, WELCOA, and now
Okay.
it's like the National Alliance of Wellness. And they have job postings and stuff on corporate wellness positions. They have
Okay.
conference, etc.
Okay.
So that's certainly one that comes to mind. Um, I think that like Peter T and Huberman, they've got obviously a variety of guests, and every once in a while there's somebody on there that puts in a plug from a corporate wellness perspective. But that National Alliance Wellness or WOCOA, I don't remember exactly what their name is right now. It used to be WOCOA. I think it's National Alliance of Wellness. Would be a really good resource for somebody that was really looking to pursue the corporate wellness. Do I think it benefits you to cold email? Yeah, but I think in my brief experience, I've found that like if a company is actually about corporate wellness, they're already posting positions. They're promoting that they are about the wellness, right? Whereas those, if they're not posting about it, you can
Yeah.
send the email. But I don't like the odds of them giving you the tools, the resources, et cetera, to be successful. There's another family-owned company here in town that's significantly bigger than the company that I work at, but it's well known. Like they care about their employees' health and well-being. And again, they're posting about it, they're marketing it as a recruiting tool. And so, like if the company's not using it as a recruiting tool, then I don't think they're really bought into it anyway.
Amen. Final question: what is one thing that people don't know about you that you wish that people would know about you?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this one a little bit. I'm not sure where I want to go with it. One thought is that like I am starting to dip my feet into the financial planning, got my licenses, and working with the Guardian Group on helping develop financial plans for people. So that's one piece that I certainly want people to know about. The other, you know, yeah, I don't. I enjoy. I've come to enjoy um, just the amount of time that I have back from being out of college football. And I think it's important for people to know that, like, the first fall, you don't have stuff going on. You're hanging out on Saturdays. Yeah, the first Saturday feels a little bit weird, right?
Yep.
But I've just come to enjoy my Saturdays and my weekends so much more. And I enjoyed them when I was in the game, right? Like, don't take that the wrong way. I absolutely enjoyed being in that process. But I've come to learn that it sure is nice having some time back in my hands, spend time with family, friends, et cetera, and seeing football from a fan perspective rather than on the sidelines wondering, how it's going to end and how that's going to affect the rest of your week, right?
It's kind of nice to just watch and be like, oh, well, I mean, people are like, who are you rooting for? And I'm like, listen, I know you're not going to like this answer, but like,
Yeah.
I'll be happy either way. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
like I really will just be okay.
Right. I explain to my son all the time, when he's at the age where he likes to ask who you're cheering for. And
Same.
then, he changes like 4 times throughout the game, depending on the score. But he'll quickly ask who you're cheering for. And so I do a quick evaluation. Do I know anybody on either side?
Yes.
And if I do, then that helps me make my decision on who I'm cheering for. But like you said, either way, it doesn't affect my week. So I'm good to go.
That's the Strength Coach Network office line being called right now. They're going to be going to voicemail. Jacob, I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us not only about your career, but about finances. And hopefully, like we say all the time, it's not financial advice. Oh, my voice. So hard to listen to. Nothing that we're saying here is financial advice. We've always said that before.
Absolutely.
Everybody go do your own research. We are just telling you things that we've done across our career. So figure out what may or may not work for you all. And yeah, man, I really appreciate the time to learn from you.
Hey, well, likewise. I appreciate having me on. It's been a lot of fun.